Hey folks, welcome back to Jerome Bee Farm and Homestead. Coming to you late in the evening, so got the sun kind of setting back there, so the light's a little off, but there's like no wind hardly at all, no air, so it's going to be smothering down here in this bee suit. But what we're going to do today is hive number 24 there. Counts 20 from the left. 24 is the last tall hive there on that first group on the right. That's Hayden's hive. Hayden moved, and when he moved, we brought his hive over here to keep it while they got moved, and he hadn't gone back to his house yet. But Hayden's 16 now, so I don't think Hayden's interests are in beekeeping these days. So anyway, I seen some signs that there may be problems with that hive out on the front looking in there. So let's just get over there and look at it and see if we got a problem or not. Hopefully we don't have a big mess to clean up with wax moss. So let's get started. Okay, here we are at hive number 24. I'll show you what I'm talking about when I think we have a problem. So first of all, look at the bees flying around here. They're kind of flying around without any purpose. And there's not bees sitting on the front entrance. So if you notice this hive right here, see you have guard bees hanging out there, bees coming and going, and they have a purpose with what they're doing. Everything over here is kind of a random flight. And they're even kind of randomly flying up around the top here. So that tells me these bees are probably robbers. Now the next thing is look at this entrance. See all that pollen laying down there? And looks like pieces of wax that are chewed up. And some black stuff, I don't know what it is. That might be dead bees. Looks like dried up bees that are been pulled out of their cocoons. That's dead bees there and pollen laying around. So this hive looks like it has failed for whatever reason. And this is varroa mite season. We're in second week of September, which let's get in there and see what we find. We may need to get some frames in the freezer. Okay, here we go. So I smell something that's like not the sweet smell of a hive. It smells like old nasty comb is what it smells like. Now this super up here has been harvested. It didn't come off of this hive, but so what I did have on this hive for honey was a deep box, and I had 9 deep frames in here that I was just banking that these bees would protect until I could harvest it in first part of July. So these bees really didn't produce any honey, and I put this super back on here thinking maybe in the fall they would make some fall flow honey. But this is all empty, which I would expect that on the other hives that I put empty supers on as well. So I'm seeing some evidence here maybe of some robbing. So there I think was some honey in this. See how those top cells are all chewed up? That's what robbing looks like. That's not something that I did with my uncapping tool or a hot knife. That's from bees ripping the cappings off and taking the honey out of there. So there was some honey in here. So I'm going to take this super off. I'm going to use my telescoping lid to set my stuff on here. In fact, I'll just set this on end. Okay, so I don't see any population of bees in here. Normally you'd see bees walking around the tops of the frames, and there's nothing there. These bees here are kind of randomly moving around, so these are bees here looking for a free load of honey to take back to their hive. These are robber bees. So a lot of times you'll see this happening before it gets bad, and you can maybe save the bees that are in there, but I never noticed anything strange around this hive. So when I look down between the frames, I'm seeing like bad stuff. So I'll show you that. But the thing that's standing out to me now is the aroma. It just doesn't smell like a nice honey sweet smell. It smells like old comb that you've pulled out from an old hive is what it smells like. So now let me show you what I see that's another sign that something's really bad going on here. So see down in between those frames, you can see web. See that kind of brown, flaky stuff? That's wax moth web. So it's been long enough and I haven't noticed it. It's got wax moths in it. So it's going to be a disgusting mess probably. So let's get in here and see maybe if we could determine what happened to this hive. So this is all robbed out. See how it's all tore up. So this hive had been strong enough that I did actually take a frame of brood out of it to help save another hive. So you can see wax moth larva trails in here. See those lines? That's from a wax moth, a larva. So they dig through your wax, they eat it, and they leave a web trail behind them. So here you can actually see the larvae themselves. So that's what a wax moth larva looks like. The way you can tell them from a hive beetle larva is they'll have a dark head. These are pretty small, so they're pretty young because they get pretty good sized. So you got them all up in here. So this was a pollen frame. I want to find where the brood was, and I want to look in those cells and see if I find varroa mite signs. So varroa mite sign is you see little specks of their poop in the cells. And I don't have a lot of experience with that. I don't believe I've ever had a serious mite issue that I'm aware of. I'll occasionally have a hive like this abscond. Perhaps they went queenless and they failed to requeen. I didn't see anything like that there. There's so much other junk in the frame from the wax moth larva that it's hard to see. I see a few light colored specks and some of them over here, which that may be what that is varroa mite poop. But something caused this hive to fail. See, at some point these wax moths make a little cocoon and another moth will come out of that. They'll actually eat into the wood, make little pits in the wood. I caught this fairly early. It's not totally junked up by the wax moths. I can freeze these frames and bees will clean this up. That one's pretty bad. Let's get down into the bottom deep and see what we find there. Yeah, they're down in here too. Not quite as bad though. So I'm gonna need to do some research on the residue left behind by varroa mites and see if I've got anything like that, so I'll know. I have not treated my hives since spring, and I know they're probably due. What I usually do though, for the past few years, and I haven't had any issues, is I'll treat after I take off these honey supers for the fall harvest. There probably wasn't any brood in this bottom. There's no need in taking this all apart right here to make a video of that. But so yeah, this is a failed hive. I don't know why. I don't see anything obvious. All the young bees are gone. There's no larvae in here that have died in the cells. So it looks to me like the queen had stopped laying and they left. Because sometimes on a failed hive you'll find capped cells that never did emerge, and you'll find dead larvae in the cells where the bees left and didn't take care of the young. Lots of pollen there and this nasty old wax moth stuff. So I'll take these frames out, put them in the freezer, and store these. I'll assess them. Some of them I won't keep. I'll scrape off the comb and put a new. If I scrape off the comb, I'll recoat it with wax, the wax foundation or the plastic foundation that I have. And if I don't do that, I'll just pop it out and put a new wax one in these. So worst case, I'll reuse the wood part of these frames. Best case, I'll freeze them and reuse them. The ones that, so these are marked 2017. So this is their 3rd year. So some of them, if they've had 3 years of brood in them, might be time to go ahead and change that out. So one more thing I want to show you on a hive over here, number 13, I believe. It's kind of cool. Let's go check that out. Okay, here's hive number 13. And in a previous video, I took some frames out of that absconded hive number 28 and I put in here, and they had rubber banded comb. And I said, those bees will work on that comb and they'll take those rubber bands and drag them out the front door. So here you can see the rubber bands. And here's another one down here. So they're already working on them. I'm not going to go in there and disturb them. But that's what they do when you see those combs from a cutout, when you rubber band their comb onto the wood frame. They just chew them rubber bands in too, and those little bees can drag that rubber band right out the front. I think that's kind of neat. Oops. There's another one back in there a ways. Let's see if I can get it out. I'm fixing to make them mad is what I'm about to do. Yep, there we go. Bees don't like getting popped with a rubber band. Just thought that was kind of cool. I'd show you that. Yeah, so you can learn a lot by looking at the front of the beehive and look at the entrance. Look at the behavior of the bees. Are they going in with purpose? They go in, they flutter about a little bit, they land and go in. And are there bees out on the front guarding it? So what caught my eye on this hive, I walked by and I saw all the pollen and the cappings laying out in the front. And I was like, oh, that looks like that's been robbed out. And then I looked closer and I could see the bees that were going in and out of there, they weren't flying with purpose. They didn't look like they belonged there. They were going in and out, robbing that thing out. So that's what caught my eye to that. So how do you prevent that? Well, you inspect your hives more often. But you know, when it's like 100 degrees out and 90% humidity, I can't get down here and do that. So I just kind of do visuals and I keep my eye on them. But that one got by me. I didn't see it was failing. A lot of times you'll see a bunch of activity around a hive when they start to rob it out. If you can catch it then, sometimes you can get in there and save some frames of honey and put them into other hives and help those hives through the winter. So it's good to catch them early if you can. Did not catch that early, obviously, but I didn't catch it late enough where the wax mosses, I mean, they will fill that thing up and consume it, and it's really gross. But I beat it to that. So I'm going to get those frames into the freezer and freeze them for about a week, and that'll kill those larvae and it'll kill the eggs and it'll stop the wax moth infestation in them. And after that, I'll drag them out and I'll assess what I'm going to do with each one. So, and I already went through that, and I won't bore you with that again. So, hey, that's the end of the video. Stick around for some B-roll. I might have a sunset or something, but we'll catch you on the next video. Y'all take care.